96.7 KCAL rocks. It is time to talk some sports with our guy, Pep. Pep, what's going on?
Hey, Patrick, as we wake up on this Thursday morning, the Dodgers are just 2 wins away from reaching the World Series. A big Game 3 victory on the road against the New York Mets. 8-zip the final score. So another shutout victory for those Dodger pitchers, and last night at least the bat showed up as well. Shohei Ohtani went deep, Max Muncy went deep. So if they're going to get offensive production like that, and the pitchers continue to be on this dominant postseason run, I don't care who they play. I'm a Mets guy. I don't care who they play. They're going to beat everybody in front of them, including maybe the Yankees in the World Series. The Yankees are up 2-zip on Cleveland over the American League.
Yeah, it is starting to come together, right? Maybe Dodgers-Yankees, a classic battle right there. Kike Hernandez was terrorizing the Mets as well. Walker Buehler, he did what he needed to do. So, I mean, the pitching is coming through for right now, but you're right. All these shutouts is kind of surprising. And then, of course, with Ohtani, it's like, oh, Ohtani's not doing well was kind of the thing. And then you knew it was coming, and he hit an absolute bomb.
You know, one of those baseball nerds broke down, Shohei Ohtani in the postseason, and it's like when there's no runners on base, he was like 0 for 22. But when there's runners on base, he's hitting like almost 1,000. I think he was like 8 for 10 or something like that. It's ridiculous. Like when the game is on the line or there's runners in scoring position, he always comes through. So it's not a shock last night. He had runners on, I think, what was it, the 8th inning when he went deep. So it's kind of weird. Like when there's nothing at stake, there's nobody on base, wasn't doing anything. But when there's guys on board, he knows how to bring them home.
The great Derek Jeter on the broadcast was saying, hey, you knew it was coming.
Yes.
He's too good a player. And also, if you are the New York Mets, just don't let anybody on base when he gets up to the plate. Basically what it comes down to, just like you're saying, Pat.
Hey, but superstars are going to be superstars, especially in those big moments. In fact, so my daughter's a lifeguard, and I always tell her, like 99% of the time, you're just standing around yelling at kids to, hey, quit running on the pool deck. You're going to slip and fall. But they're paying you because that 1%, they need you to come up big in that moment, in that 1%. That's why they're paying you. That's what it's like being a superstar in sports, especially baseball. They're paying you to be a superstar in those superstar moments. When they need you the most in that big moment, you've got to come through, whether it's Ohtani, whether it's Walker Buehler in the postseason. That's why you're making the big bucks, is because they need you to be a superstar in that moment.
Another joke that was going around the internet is like a lot of people were saying, well, maybe it's because New York's not allowing him to have Decoy there, his dog.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He has a suite at Dodger Stadium, and maybe he needs his pooch. I thought that was kind of funny.
Man's best friend, right? Dogs always make it better. But yeah, it was just something about, having runners on base when not having runners on base, and he almost always seems to come through. So Dodgers bats came alive. This pitching has been unbelievable. All these shutouts in the postseason, they're unhittable right now. So whether it's the Mets, the Yankees, the Guardians, who cares, right? If the Dodgers are going to do this, they look like they're a wrecking ball. They're just going to blast through everybody.
Yeah, it was like kind of like maybe the Padres were their biggest opponent, and once they were able to get by them, I mean, the Padres, looks like they may have had the best chance to take the Dodgers out, and they weren't able to do it.
Yeah, it sure looks like it. They might have been the biggest hurdle to get to the World Series, or win the World Series for that matter. But still a lot of baseball, but they sure look good in Game 3 last night. Game 4 is tonight, back in New York for the Dodgers and the Mets. And over the American League, like I mentioned, the Yankees are up on the Guardians. That series is 2-zip. Game 3 is also today. So, I mean, we could have this, old school nostalgic Dodgers versus Yankees World Series. At least they're on a collision course at this point.
Yep, it's starting to, the vision is becoming clear for the World Series.
So we'll be keeping tabs on that. But we've got to talk some NFL football. Patrick, it's an AFC West versus NFC West matchups this weekend. I'll begin with my 49ers taking on the defending Super Bowl champion Chiefs. This matchup kind of lost its luster a little bit this season because the 49ers have kind of stumbled around throughout the year. In Kansas City, listen, we've talked about this before. You're not 5-0 by accident. Kansas City has done some things right. They just haven't been dominant, but they have found ways to win, whether they've looked great or not. They're still 5-0 at the end of the day.
Right, but they've had some injuries as well. Pachenko goes down, he breaks his leg, stuff like that. But they have, like you said, managed to be scrappy and still it's unbelievable.
Yeah, still find a way to win. So it's still an interesting matchup, a Super Bowl rematch. But the Chiefs has kind of, found ways to win, haven't looked great. And the 49ers, obviously, the record speaks for itself. They've looked good, they've looked bad. They're somewhere in the middle, Jekyll and Hyde. So we'll find out how that works out. The other, another AFC West versus NFC West matchup, Raiders and Rams, and there's plenty of storylines and drama, even just with the Raiders. I mean, Davante Adams finally being traded, going to the New York Jets to join Aaron Rodgers again, and then Tom Brady becoming part owner this week. So if you thought maybe he was going to come back to the NFL as a quarterback, I guess that's out the window now because he was officially approved as a minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. So just on the Raiders side, Patrick, there's all this stuff to talk about.
Yes, Antonio Pierce, head coach of the Raiders, was asked about the missing Davante Adams now, and he said, hey, we haven't had him for 2 weeks. Next man up.
Yeah, right. Remember, circle back, a couple weeks ago when he said they're going to make some business decisions about some of their players. So maybe this was one of those business decisions. He knew that he didn't want to be there anyways. And then, I guess he's been dealing with an injury, but was it really an injury? Did he really have something going on?
Yeah. A lot of people were saying it was the Kaiser Sose, like in The Usual Suspects, where he's walking all gimped at the end of the movie, and then he starts walking normal.
Yeah. Someone was comparing, what was it, the Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory movie, the grandpa who jumps out of bed, starts dancing around. That's going to be Davante Adams. So, yeah, he's probably going to be fine, and I hope he does well with the Jets. I think it'd be fun to see Aaron Rodgers and the Jets actually have a good season and compete this year. But for the Raiders, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's full rebuild mode now at this point. They were asked if they're going to get rid of Max Crosby. He's their other big star, and they said, "Oh, absolutely not." I mean, I guess, but right now, I mean, they don't look like a competitive team.
Right? Hey, maybe his stock will never be higher than right now. Maybe get what you can get.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that's the case. They're like, okay, maybe like the Cowboys. There's always next year. So let's go ahead and start building for next year and see what we can get in return for Davante Adams. So, And then the other big matchup featuring Western divisions, the Chargers and the Cardinals will go head to head on Monday Night Foosball from Glendale, Arizona. So besides your Seahawks, everybody else is doing this division matchup, AFC versus NFC West.
Yeah, we're taking on the Falcons, but you're right. It's like the Cardinals. I feel like I don't know who's going to show up, a really great team or a not great team. Marvin Harrison Jr., it looks like he's out with a concussion or whatever. Kyler Murray, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I go back to that 49ers game. The 49ers had a nice lead on them at halftime at home in Santa Clara in San Francisco, and they let that one get away. Then they go, the next week they go on the road and they beat the Seahawks in Seattle. It's like same thing. I'm like, who's going to show up for the 49ers, for the Cardinals? There's a lot of teams I think still trying to find their identity because we kind of don't know who some of these teams are. I mean, think about even the Raiders. Did the Raiders beat Baltimore this year? What's going on?
It's weird.
Yeah. And finally, some NBA news. Patrick, the NBA season, the regular season, will tip off next week. I think there's about one more preseason game for most teams. And we have not seen our guy Kawhi Leonard, the pride of Riverside King High School, in a Clippers uniform this season. Not only in this preseason, he hasn't even been at practice for the Clippers. And I actually went back and looked. Tyrone Lue, the coach of the Clippers, back on April 5th, said Kawhi was day-to-day with his knee injury, and they were hoping to have him back. Remember in the postseason, in the playoffs, and he never came back. And what is this? Almost like 200 days later, he is still out, and he's probably not going to be ready for opening night next week on October 23rd.
6 months later, he's still out. It just makes you wonder if that knee is toast, and we just don't know it yet.
Yeah, I mean, that the whole Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, super tandem, I think that window has closed. PG-13, gone. Kawhi Leonard, hurt. I mean, who's the big two now? James Harden and Russell Westbrook. I think the window has closed for the Clippers, man. I hate to say it because it was all in. It was like championship or bust for a couple seasons.
Yeah, but here comes the NBA. It's that weird time of year when all the sports are kind of going at the same time. It's a great time of year, Pep. We will be talking on Monday. Of course, a lot more will have happened. We'll see what's up with the Dodgers when
Yeah.
we catch up with Pep again on Monday. Tell me how to get your stuff.
Yeah, will it be Dodger blue and pinstripes coming up in the World Series? Man, it should be a fun one if that happens. You can get my stuff anytime. Inland Sports, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Inland Sports on the old YouTube channel. That's Inland Sports.
Thanks, Pep.